So imagine you're standing inside this brightly lit glass box.
Right.
And outside, it is just an ocean of pitch black.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't see a single thing past the reflection on the glass, but anyone standing out there in the dark, they can see your every move.
Oh, absolutely.
They can watch you make coffee. They can watch you, count the register, time your routines. And that is not some scene from a psychological thriller. That is literally just 2:0 a.m. on the night shift.
Yeah, it creates this literal fishbowl effect.
Totally.
You are completely exposed, physically isolated, and you're operating on a sleep schedule that actively fights your body's natural circadian rhythms.
Yeah.
It's the perfect laboratory for someone looking to manipulate human behavior.
Which brings us to our mission today.
Yeah.
So welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We are stripping away the daylight and the crowds to examine the absolute definition of vulnerability.
Right.
And we're doing this by pulling from a collection of 4 first-hand accounts. Yeah, really good stuff. These are night shift horror stories, but we are not here to just sit around a digital campfire telling spooky tales. We're here to reverse engineer the predatory tactics that these individuals actually survive.
Exactly, because understanding these narratives it's critical. It reveals this terrifying reality that when you are isolated on a night shift, predators, they don't see you as an employee.
Right.
They see you as a variable in a very calculated equation. They want to test your boundaries, gauge your reactions, and figure out exactly how much pressure it takes to make your internal alarm system just, fail.
Okay, let's unpack this concept of testing boundaries.
Yeah.
Because our first account from 2017 is wild.
It really is.
So we have this 21-year-old working the closing shift entirely alone at a gas station. It's a quiet night, but around like 9:00 or 10:00 p.m., the store phone rings.
Okay.
The worker picks up and hears this incredibly low, drawn-out voice. He actually compares it to the ghost face voice from the movie Scream.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he said it sounds incredibly forced, like a really bad, almost cartoonish impression.
And see, the worker's brain immediately looks for a non-threatening explanation there.
Right, he thinks it's a joke.
Exactly. He assumes it's his friends playing a prank. And we do this all the time. It is a cognitive defense mechanism. When our environment presents us with something bizarre or, potentially threatening, our brain aggressively tries to categorize it as normal or harmless.
Just to keep us from freaking out.
Right, to prevent us from spiraling into a panic response.
Well, he leans right into that defense mechanism.
Oh.
He responds sarcastically, says, "Yeah, you got me," and just hangs up. He even texts his friends to call them out on it, but they deny it.
Of course.
But then 10 minutes later, the phone rings again. Same voice. The worker gives the exact same sarcastic response, refusing to take it seriously. But this time, the voice lets out this soft, weirdly genuine laugh and says, "I shouldn't be rude to people who know where I am."
Oh man, that changes everything.
It completely strips the movie trope away. And then at 10:40 p.m., the phone rings a third time, and the caller asks one simple question. He asks, "Is the store always this quiet?"
Yeah, and that is the pivot point. That is no longer a prank. That is a data gathering maneuver.
Gathering data on the store.
Yes, the predator is introducing specific real-time data into the conversation to prove their proximity. They are evaluating the worker's isolation. Asking, "Is the store always this quiet?" is a direct inquiry into how much time they have to operate, without an interruption from an unexpected customer or a police patrol.
Wow. So the psychological pressure really ramps up. The calls become relentless, ringing every minute or two until the worker just completely stops answering.
Which is when the auditory threats become physical.
Exactly. The worker starts hearing noises right outside the building, a tap on the glass, a light scrape along the wall, the sound of gravel crunching near the back door.
Testing the perimeter.
Yeah. Then, at 11:40 p.m., the chime on the front door goes off, and a customer walks in. He's late 20s, early 30s, clean clothes, totally normal looking. But his behavior is it's deeply wrong.
What does he do?
He wanders the aisles with an entirely blank expression for nearly 10 minutes just to grab one single bag of chips. And on the security monitors, the worker keeps seeing the top half of this guy's face popping up over the aisles, just staring dead at the counter.
Right, so he is running a stress test.
A stress test.
Yeah, he is intentionally violating the social norms of a convenience store. Usually people make quick, purposeful movements in there. But he's doing this to evaluate the worker's assertiveness. Will the worker call out to him? Will he pick up the phone? He's measuring the worker's response time to an escalating anomaly.
Well, the guy finally approaches the counter in total silence. The worker scans the chips, looks down at the register, and when he looks back up, the guy is staring directly into his eyes.
Terrifying.
He holds this dead, expressionless stare for 2 full seconds, pays, turns, and walks to the door. But right as he pushes the door halfway open, he stops.
Oh no.
He turns his head back, lowers his chin to look up through his eyebrows, and just smiles.
We really need to talk about the biology of that smile.
What do you mean?
Well, the human brain relies heavily on facial expressions to gauge intent, right?
Sure.
So when you see a completely blank stare followed abruptly by a deliberate, malicious smile, it triggers what we call cognitive shock.
Cognitive shock.
Yeah. Your amygdala, which is your brain's threat detection center, it receives profoundly conflicting data. It cannot categorize the person as either safe or angry, so it basically stalls out.
Like a computer freezing.
Exactly. And the predator knows this. He is intentionally using that smile to induce paralysis, freezing the victim with fear so they are easier to corner once they leave the safety of the building.
Which is exactly what almost happens. The guy steps outside, but he doesn't go to a car. He walks around the side of the building, keeping unbroken eye contact through the glass, holding that exact same smile until he disappears into a camera blind spot near the woods.
He's waiting for him.
Yeah. The worker is terrified. He locks the doors early, texts his family, and at midnight, he makes a run for his car.
Yeah, that run to the car.
Right. Just as he reaches his door, he hears the sound of fast, heavy speed walking steps slapping the pavement. The guy is coming right at him from the darkness.
Wow.
The worker barely gets his engine turned over and peels out of the lot. You know, looking at this initial phone calls and the scraping on the walls, it's like a predator tapping on the glass of an aquarium.
That's a great way to put it.
They aren't just messing around, they're actively testing the environment to see how the fish reacts before they actually strike.
Yeah, and if we look at this, predators often use fear to paralyze a target. But what's fascinating here is what happens when a predator realizes that fear actually makes you put your guard up.
Right, because this worker locked the doors early because he was scared.
Exactly. So more sophisticated predators change their tactics entirely. Instead of pushing you away or freezing you with terror, they use a cry for help to pull you in.
They weaponize your empathy.
Yes.
I mean, think about the last time someone approached you in a parking lot asking for directions or a few dollars. Your very first instinct, before annoyance, before fear, it was probably a tiny flicker of obligation to help.
We're wired that way.
Exactly. And that is the exact instinct these predators reverse engineer. We see this perfectly in our next account. It's 2:30 a.m. at a different gas station. It's cold, foggy, dead silent. The worker steps outside for some fresh air and spots a guy in a dark red hoodie out by the pumps.
Okay.
And he's got his hands shoved in his pockets, pacing around in this nervous circular pattern.
So he's establishing the visual of this stranded driver.
Exactly. The worker goes back inside and keeps an eye on him. Eventually, the guy boosts through the front doors, radiating this frantic energy. He delivers this incredibly rushed, breathless story about his car breaking down just off the highway.
The hook.
Right. He's begging for a jump or a flashlight, or asking if the worker can just come out for 2 minutes to look under the hood.
And see, human beings are fundamentally social creatures. From an evolutionary standpoint, our survival has always depended on mutual aid.
Sure.
So when someone is in distress, our brains release oxytocin, which encourages bonding and it actually suppresses our amygdala's fear response. So the predator is literally trying to drug the worker with his own biology.
Wow. But this worker's situational awareness saves his life.
What does he do?
He checks the security monitor behind the counter. And sure enough, there is a car parked out near the highway. But the worker registers 2 massive red flags. First, he was just outside a few minutes ago, and that car absolutely was not there. Second, on the grainy monitor, he sees a slight movement near the car's back bumper. Someone is crouching in the dark, just out of view.
Oh, that's chilling.
So let me push back on this for a second. Let me throw a theory out there.
Sure.
If there are multiple guys out by the car and only one worker inside, why do this whole frantic dance? Why not just rush the store and overpower him?
It's a good question. It's because a direct assault triggers the worker's fight or flight response while he still has a geographic advantage.
Like being behind the counter.
Right. If they rush the store, he might have a weapon behind the counter. He might have time to throw the deadbolt. He might barricade himself in the back room. They need him to voluntarily leave his fortress.
Ah, okay. It's like a magician's misdirection.
Exactly.
They want you looking so hard at the frantic driver in the break-in car that you completely ignore the actual threat positioning itself in the shadows.
Yes.
Well, the worker realizes it's a trap ducks out of sight, and hits the silent panic button. The alarm starts screaming through the store. And this is the most chilling part. The instant that alarm goes off, the guy's frantic energy simply vanishes.
The act is over.
Totally. His posture totally relaxes. He stops shifting his weight, gives this slow, knowing grin, and casually jogs out into the woods.
What's fascinating here is that the anxiety was entirely performative. Once the trap was blown, there was no need to spend the energy keeping up the act. The mask drops. And the police findings later that night prove how deeply calculated this really was.
Right. The cops arrive, the men are gone, but they left the car. And the police find the front passenger door hanging open.
Oh.
Yeah. There hadn't just been a guy in the store and a guy crouching by the bumper. There was a third person waiting inside the car the entire time.
An entire crew.
And when they ran the plates, the car had been reported stolen a week earlier, over 100 miles away.
So they sourced a stolen vehicle specifically for this ambush. They practiced their roles, the bait, the flanker, and the getaway driver. It is a terrifying realization that they view our best human trait, our willingness to help a stranger, as our greatest tactical weakness.
Which sets us up for an even darker evolution of this psychology.
Yeah.
Because if weaponizing empathy is scary, manipulating trust is devastating.
Absolutely.
Empathy requires you to help someone else. Trust tricks you into thinking someone is helping you.
Right.
Let's look at the Walmart night shift worker. It's 2:00 a.m. She is stocking the electronics department by herself. The store is empty, except for one guy.
Okay.
He isn't pushing a cart. He isn't browsing. He is just lingering.
Stalking.
Yeah. Every time she turns down an aisle, he is standing at the end of it. She catches him standing perfectly still by a clearance rack, just watching her. She tries for radio management, but her walkie-talkie battery is dead.
Oh no. See, the predator is deliberately spiking her cortisol levels here.
The stress hormone.
Exactly, cortisol. When it floods your system in a state of high anxiety, your cognitive function physically narrows. You actually lose the ability to analyze complex details.
It's like tunnel vision.
You get literal tunnel vision, and your brain screams at you to find an immediate exit or an ally.
And right on cue, an ally appears.
Convenient.
Very. A woman she has never seen before suddenly grabs her arm. The woman is loud, overly friendly, completely invading her personal space like they're old friends reuniting. She leans in and whispers, "That guy's been recording you, follow me."
Let's call this the artificial savior effect.
The artificial savior effect.
Yeah, the target is already drowning in cortisol, right? She's desperate for a lifeline. So when someone confidently steps in and provides immediate vocal validation of her worst fears, the target's brain instantly categorizes this new person as a protector.
Wow. Here's where it gets really interesting. Think of it like an immune system response.
Oh, I like that.
Right. The first stalker is the virus. His only job is to trigger the body's alarms and cause chaos. The woman is a sophisticated parasite masquerading as a white blood cell.
Wow. Yes.
Once the body accepts her as the cure, the immune system stands down and the victim completely lowers their defenses. It's like she's a wolf dressed not as a sheep, but as a sheepdog.
That is a perfect way to conceptualize it. It is the classic Trojan horse. The bait wasn't money. It wasn't a cry for help. The bait was the illusion of safety itself.
Well, the worker is so relieved she is practically crying. She lets this woman pull her through the store.
Because she trusts her.
Completely. The woman is rambling about fake vacations and inside jokes, keeping up the loud, friendly act for anyone who might be watching.
The performance.
But then the worker's tunnel vision starts to clear. She realizes they aren't walking toward the bright, populated cash registers.
Oh.
The woman is pulling her past the aisles, straight toward the dimly lit warehouse side exit. The one used for late night shipments. The one that has absolutely no security cameras.
She led her right into the trap.
Yeah. The worker's gut instinct finally overrides the artificial savior effect. She screams, violently yanks her arm free, and runs for the front of the store.
Thank God.
But as she is running away, the woman shouts at her to come back. And she shouts the worker's actual name.
Wait, her actual name?
Her real name.
See, that single detail reframes the entire encounter. This was not a crime of opportunity. This was a premeditated, targeted abduction attempt.
Because they knew who she was.
They knew her identity. They knew her place of employment. They knew her shift schedule. And when they reviewed the security footage later, they found exactly what you would expect. The stalker and the savior had walked through the front doors of the Walmart together. They were a coordinated team.
Knowing her name tells us that targeted attacks don't just happen in a vacuum on a random Tuesday night.
No, they don't.
Sometimes predators groom their targets over weeks. And worse, the institutions and systems we think are keeping us safe are often entirely blind to the buildup.
That's the scariest part.
Right. Let's talk about Cadence. She's a bartender at a local dive bar, often working the closing shifts alone during the week. One night, a well-dressed, clean-cut guy in his late 40s comes in. He is sophisticated.
He blends in.
Yeah, he orders a top-shelf drink, makes very polite, appropriate small talk, and casually asks what time she gets off.
Testing the waters.
Cadence gives a vague answer to brush him off. He doesn't push back at all. He just smiles grimly, leaves a crisp $100 bill as a tip, and walks out.
We really have to look at the psychology of the over-tipping here.
You think it was intentional?
Oh, absolutely. He is buying a baseline of harmlessness. In the hospitality industry, a large tip immediately categorizes a customer in the brain as generous, successful, and most importantly, respectful.
That makes sense.
It forcefully lowers the bartender's threat radar for any future interactions.
And it works. A week later, he comes back. But this time, he brings a woman. And this woman immediately starts love-bombing Cadence. She tells Cadence she is gorgeous, touches her arm lightly, and starts asking probing questions about her age and how long she has been stuck working at a dive bar. Then comes the pitch.
Here we go.
The woman claims she runs an exclusive event club and offers Cadence $10,000 to work a few private parties over the weekend.
The financial lure. And notice that the man brought a female accomplice to deliver the pitch. Women naturally lower the defensive barriers of other women. In a way, a middle-aged man offering a suspicious amount of money, well, he never could.
Right. But Cadence is smart. She firmly declines the offer. And the woman's friendly mask instantly vanishes. The warmth is gone, and they just leave the bar.
Because the grooming phase is over.
Exactly. The act of stalking begins. Days later, Cadence realizes she's being followed home from the bar by a car that perfectly mirrors her turns. She forces them to break off by pulling into a brightly lit police station parking lot. But it culminates a few nights later. She is closing the bar alone. The same woman walks in right before last call, orders a drink, and the second Cadence turns her back to grab a glass, the woman slips out the front door and vanishes.
The trap is set.
Cadence looks out the front window and sees a large black van idling directly outside the front door. Suddenly, someone starts violently rattling the solid steel back door of the bar.
Oh, wow.
Someone is aggressively trying to break in. Cadence grabs a heavy metal cocktail shaker as a weapon and dials 911. Fortunately, her boss unexpectedly pulls into the parking lot to drop off supplies at that exact moment.
What timing?
I know, right? The banging immediately stops and the van screeches away into the night. Now, looking at the mechanics of this, so what does this all mean? Because the banging on the back door almost feels like a distraction. Like they knew they couldn't break a steel door, they just wanted to terrify her into running out the front. Am I reading too much into that?
You are absolutely correct. If we connect this to the bigger picture, when Cadence's boss reviewed the security footage with the police, they saw two masked men crouching by the front door.
Right next to the van.
Right next to the idling van. The person banging on the back door was running a textbook flush-out tactic.
A flush-out tactic?
Yes, it is a hunting strategy. You make a deafening noise in the brush so the game panics and runs directly into the crosshairs of the hunters waiting in the clearing. If Cadence had panicked and run out the front door to escape the noise in the back, she would have stepped right into the van.
It is horrifying. But what really stands out to me when you view all these accounts side by side is the aftermath. The systems fail.
They really do.
Like in the first story, with the speedwalking guy at the gas station, the boss reviews the footage the next day and completely dismisses it. He gets defensive, calls the stalker just a regular customer, and actively blames the worker for being paranoid.
That is normalcy bias in action. You know, people in positions of authority often dismiss anomalies because acknowledging a severe threat requires them to take action.
Right, it disrupts their day.
It disrupts their business and it shatters their own illusion of safety. It is just easier for management to call you crazy than to admit a predator is hunting in their store.
In Cadence's story, her boss was incredibly supportive. The security cameras caught everything. They even got a clear shot of the license plate on the black van. But when the police ran the plates, they were entirely unregistered. Ghost plates. The police had absolutely nothing to go on, and the investigation just hit a dead end.
Which highlights a critical, hard truth for you, the listener. Security cameras are forensic tools. They are not shields.
They won't stop the attack.
Exactly. They will record what happens to you for the police report, but they will rarely intervene to stop it. And your boss, even if they are supportive, is not coming to save you. In the moment of crisis, your primary and often only line of defense is your own unrelenting situational awareness.
It all comes down to trusting your gut.
Yeah.
As we wrap up this deep dive, there is one ultimate lesson that echoes through every single one of these accounts. Politeness can and will be weaponized against you.
It's their primary tool.
Think about it. The 21-year-old gas station worker didn't want to seem crazy by locking the doors early.
Right.
The worker with the red hoodie guy didn't want to seem rude by refusing to help a stranded driver. Cadence didn't want to seem ungrateful for a $100 tip.
Predators count on the social contract. They literally bank their freedom on your desire to avoid social awkwardness.
But every survivor in these accounts lived because, at a critical, terrifying moment, they stopped caring about seeming rude or unhelpful or paranoid.
They chose survival.
They shattered the social contract and trusted their gut instinct over societal expectations.
And that leaves you with a profound, almost uncomfortable question to ponder today. Our daily lives are fundamentally built on these social contracts. Helping a stranded driver on a cold night, trusting a concerned stranger in an aisle, returning a smile, being polite to a customer. We need these interactions for society to function without collapsing into paranoia. But what does it mean for us when predators systematically reverse engineer our very best human traits to build their traps?
That's a heavy thought.
It is. How do you, as an individual navigating the world, balance retaining your humanity and empathy with the stark, cold reality of ensuring your own survival?
Yeah, it definitely makes you look at those humming fluorescent lights a little differently, doesn't it? The herd might make us feel safe during the day, but when the night shift begins, you really only have yourself.